Good evening and welcome back to another episode of The Longing, where today we will be continuing to read Dream Days by Kenneth Grahame. So, let's get going. Nature, so often a cheerful ally, sometimes sulks and refuses to play. When in this mood she passes the word to her underlings, and all the little people of fur and feather take the hint and slip home quietly by back streets. In vain we scouted, lurked, crept, and ambuscaded. Ambuscaded? Everything that usually scurried, hopped, or fluttered the small society of the undergrowth seemed to have engagements elsewhere. The horrid thought that perhaps they had all gone off to the circus occurred to us simultaneously, and we humped ourselves up on the fence and felt bad. Even the sound of approaching wheels failed to stir any interest in us. When you are bent on throwing stones at something, humanity seems obtrusive and better away. Then suddenly we both jumped off the fence together, our faces clearing, for our educated ear had told us that the approaching rattle could only proceed from a dog cart, and we felt sure it must be the funny man. We called him the funny man because he was sad and serious, and said little but gazed right into our souls, and made us tell him just what was on our minds at the time, and then came out with some magnificently luminous suggestion that cleared every cloud away. What was more, he would then go off with us at once and play the thing right out to its finish, earnestly and devotedly, putting all other things aside. So we called him the funny man, meaning only that he was different from those others who thought it incumbent on them to play the painful mummer. The ideal as opposed to the real man was what we meant, only we were not acquainted with the phrase. Those others, with their laboured jests and clumsy contortions, doubtless flattered themselves that they were funny men. We who had to sit through and applaud the painful performance knew better. He pulled up to a walk as soon as he caught sight of us, and the dog-cart crawled slowly along till it stopped just opposite. Then he leant his chin on his hand and regarded us long and soulfully. Yet he said never a word, while we jigged up and down in the dust, grinning bashfully but with expectation. For you never knew exactly what this man might say or do. "You look bored," he remarked presently. "Thoroughly bored. Or else, let me see, you're not married, are you?" He asked this in such sad earnestness that we hastened to assure him we were not married, though we felt he ought to have known that much. We had been intimate for some time. Then it's only boredom," he said. "Just satiety? Satiety and the world. Weariness. World weariness, sorry. Well, if you assure me you aren't married, you can climb into this cart and I'll take you for a drive. I'm bored too. I want to do something dark and dreadful and exciting." We clambered in, of course, yapping with delight and treading all over his toes. And as we set off, Harold demanded of him imperiously whither he was going. "My wife," he replied, "has ordered me to go and look up the curate and bring him home to tea. Does that sound sufficiently exciting for you?" Our faces fell. The curate of the hour was not a success. From our point of view, he was not a funny man in any sense of the word. "But I'm not going to," he added cheerfully. Then I was to stop at some cottage and ask, what was it? There was nettle rash mixed up in it, I'm sure. But never mind, I've forgotten, and it doesn't matter. Look here, we're three desperate young fellows who stick at nothing. Suppose we go off to the circus? Of certain supreme moments it is not easy to write. The varying shades and currents of emotion may indeed be put into words by those specially skilled that way. They often are, at considerable length. But the sheer crude article itself, the strong, live thing that leaps up inside you and swells and strangles you, the dizziness of revulsion that takes the breath like cold water, who shall depict this and live? All I knew was that I would have died then and there, cheerfully, for the funny man, that I longed for red Indians to spring out from the hedge on the dog-cart, just to show what I would do, and that, with all this, I could not find the least little word to say to him. Harold was less taciturn. With shrill voice uplifted in solemn chant, he sang the great spheral circus song, and the undying glory of the ring. Of its timeless beginning he sang, of its fashioning by cosmic forces, and of its harmony with the stellar plan. Of horses he sang, of their strength, their swiftness, and their docility as to tricks. Of clowns again, of the glory of knavery, and of the eternal type that shall endure. Lastly, he sang of her, the woman of the ring, flawless, complete, untrammelled in each subtly curving limb, earth's highest output, time's noblest expression. At least he doubtless sang all these things and more. He certainly seemed to, though all that was distinguishable was, "We're going to the circus," and then once more, "We're going to the circus." The sweet rhythmic phrase repeated again and again, but indeed I cannot be quite sure, for I heard confusedly as in a dream. Wings of fire sprang from the old mare's shoulders. We whirled on our way through purple clouds, and earth and the rattle of wheels were far away below. The dream and the dizziness were still in my head when I found myself, scarce conscious of intermediate steps, seated actually in the circus at last, and took the first sniff of that intoxicating circus smell that will stay by me while this clay endures. The place was beset by a hum and a glitter and a mist. Suspense brooded large o'er the blank, mysterious arena. Strung up to the highest pitch of expectation, we knew not from what quarter, in what divine shape, the first surprise would come. A thud of unseen hoofs first set us a-quiver, then a crash of cymbals, a jangle of bells, a hoarse, applauding roar. And Coralie was in the midst of us, whirling past twixt earth and sky, now erect, flushed, radiant, now crouched to the flowing mane, swung and tossed and moulded by the maddening dance music of the band. The mighty whip of the count in the frock-coat marked time with pistol shots. His war-cry, whooping clear above the music, fired the blood with a passion for splendid deeds, as Coralie, laughing, exultant, crashed through the paper hoops. We gripped the red cloth in front of us, and our souls sped round and round with Coralie, leaping with her, prone with her, swung by mane or tail with her. It was not only the ravishment of her delirious feats, nor her cream-coloured horse of fairy breed, long-tailed, row-footed, an enchanted prince surely, if ever there was one. It was her more than mortal beauty displayed, too, under conditions never vouchsafed to us before, that held us spellbound. What princess had arms so dazzlingly white, or went delicately clothed in such pink and spangles? Hitherto we had known the outward woman as but a drab thing, hourglass-shaped, nearly legless, bunched here, constricted there, slow of movement and given to deprecating lusty action of limb. Here was a revelation. From henceforth our imaginations would have to be revised and corrected up to date. In one of those swift rushes the mind makes in high-strung moments, I saw myself and Coralie, close enfolded, pacing the world together, o'er hill and plain, through storied cities, past rows of applauding relations. I in my Sunday knickerbockers, she in her pink and spangles. And with that, we come to the end of the reading section. Excuse me. I must admit, the phrasing of this is proving to be quite a tongue twister at times, this book. So you might hear me stumbling over words quite a lot, as it turns out. Oh, I do apologise. Another yawn crept up. But anyway, that is the end of the episode now. So thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon or night. No matter what time of day it is, I hope you all have a wonderful one of it. And as always, we will be back tomorrow for more of The Longing. Goodbye.